So good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here and talking about this subject. I'm a native New Yorker who's lived in the San Francisco Bay Area for the last 20 years. And my why, since I was a little girl, the through line has always been beauty for me. Even when I didn't know it, it was something that tugged at my heart and that tugged at me. And when I talk about beauty now, it's a capital B beauty. So it encompasses external aesthetics, but also internal beauty, the beauty of mystery, the beauty of imperfection, like the whole person, the whole project, the whole thing. And how I got into design, I was already a professional. I had an MBA in marketing. I was working in beauty marketing, not coincidentally. And I bought my first house and remodeled the kitchen. I had guidance from a family friend who was an interior designer in New York City, and I just got the bug. Kind of the little girl who loved color and materials and drawing and solving problems just lit up. And as my marketing career got a little more sort of out of alignment for me and more about management and charts and graphs and meetings, I took the leap of faith and went back to design school and then moved out to the Bay Area.
If you think back the day you kind of felt like you knew, and where you're at right now, what has changed in that why? Do you sometimes have to remind yourself of why you're doing what you're doing in the first place? Or have you just stayed on that track? Or have you shifted and are okay with the shift that you went towards?
Yes, and. So for me, like I said, there's that through line of beauty, and kind of where I'm at now, I've tortured myself over the years thinking about purpose and what's my purpose, and I have to know. Where I am now is that we all have a unique essence that's like our thumbprint inside of us, and our purpose helps us express that to the world. And so throughout my life, how I've expressed and interacted with beauty has changed. And the main way, I would say, is when I was in marketing and beauty marketing and in interior design, and even as a young girl, it was very outside-in beauty, creating beautiful things and bringing that in. And as I've gotten older and focused on my own personal growth and my inside work, I've become much more interested in inside-out beauty and how connecting with your purpose, being in alignment with your gifts and who you want to serve, and being able to express that's beautiful too. And that's now my relationship to it, and I help others kind of get there.
Janine, you mentioned that wellness is an inside job.
Yes.
And that there are 3 areas of personal wellness in your space. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I could talk about this all day, but I'll try not to. For me, it's very holistic, whether we're talking about your personal wellness or approaching my business or your business, and it's a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual work that for me to live my purpose, it's like a daily commitment to those things. And the 3 areas that I think about are sort of overlapping are self-awareness, self-care, and self-expression. And self-awareness is you kind of have to know what raw materials you're working with first before you can kind of go anywhere. So that's
that introvert.
Knowing that you're an introvert, knowing the magnificent parts of you, and the parts where you trip over your own feet and get in your own way. And so I've spent a lot of time in different programs and different modalities, really getting to know, love, and trust myself and understand myself. And so that awareness is really important. It's like a launching pad. The self-care part is about putting your oxygen mask on first. It is not selfish. It's the way you can give your best and not the rest and still have some left over for yourself. And I have to say, for me personally, before 9 a.m., I have made sure I've slept well. I'm eating well. I've moved my body. I've meditated. I've prayed. I've done something joyful with my dog. I've gotten out in nature. I just have to. That's what I've come to that I need to do to not only be my happiest and most prosperous, but then be able to give to my clients.
Yeah.
And then the self-expression part, which everybody here does so well through their design. Unfortunately, if you're really stressed out, it's really hard to be your most creative and to do that really well. And that's a vicious cycle of the less you get to be creative and do that thing you love, the less happy you are. And so it's really important to work play into your day. Even if you're creative in your business, something outside of business that really lights you up, whatever that is, gardening, cooking, playing music, I don't know, just dancing with your friends. I just want to interject that, and that's not, like, I didn't wake up one day and I was like this. Like, It's a journey, it's a process. It's not, I'm sticking a pin in this today and everything's going to be okay. And I still get really stressed out, and I still, just wanted to add that in.
How do you guys make sure that your client is well in the process? What works? What are some of the takeaways there that would be helpful?
So for me, the first step is I have to show up well, or as well as I can. I'm a perfectionist, a recovering one, and so I can't put that pressure on me, but I've had to have done my work, from that prior question I just answered, because our energy is contagious. And if we're stressed out and unsure and burnt out, that they're neurologically, that ripples out. So that's kind of step one. Step two is I help my clients kind of do that inside investigation in a safe, gentle way, but getting to know, reaffirm how wonderful they are and their superpowers, and then also looking at, how they sabotage themselves. Yeah. And I teach them, there are many of the tools I've learned, I share with my clients to help them manage that stress, and when they get into that place. For me, it's perfectionism, control, and self-judgment. Maybe some of you can relate with that too.
Do you get feedback from your clients on that? Because I think that's a lot, and I don't know that a lot of designers are that proactive in that process. Do people come back and say, are they aware of the fact that you're actually very deliberate about making sure that they're okay too in the process?
Yes, I kind of make sure that from the very beginning of the process, and I'm really clear that I want to work with people who are willing to do that work and are ready to look inward and take responsibility. That's part of my boundaries in my work, is working with folks who are ready to do that and have someone by their side, to be a compassionate witness and sounding board.
I just feel calmer just sitting next to Janine and going, yeah, I want to do that. Janine, I know we're going to probably get buzzed off here. I don't know if they start playing music to kick us off or what they do, but I do want to ask you about your 3 superpowers to run a sage project.
Yes, thank you.
What's that all about?
That, when it kind of ties in perfectly with what we were just talking about, and someone is upset or disappointed or angry or whatever, the first big one is empathy. If we could all just bring more empathy first to ourselves and then to anyone else we're dealing with, that's a huge, it fosters trust, it fosters vulnerability and camaraderie, so empathy is a huge superpower. The client might be afraid, or they're spending a lot of money, or they've never done this before, or whatever it might be. Empathy is one. Really deep curiosity, and not like nosy curiosity, and I'm sure you all are really good. You've mentioned discovery, but when you're getting to know someone or dealing with a situation, instead of immediately going to, who's right, who's wrong, what's the right answer, who can we blame, or whatever, it's about, okay, what are all the factors going on here? What's going on with me? What's going on with them? What's going on with the situation? Because that just opens things to more possibility and more creative solutions if you can just be really curious without judgment before jumping into action. And the last one, which I probably should have said first, was reconnecting with the purpose. Your why, their why, the why of the project, because that can just help settle things instead of, taking it personally. It's like your focus is on, you just want this entity, this project, this person to be its best, and those are the 3 superpowers.
I wanted to ask you guys, you have a really stressful day, something, it's just been, whether you put that fire out or not, how do you end your day? What is happening between you saying, I'm done for the day, and the time when you go to bed? How do you get yourself back into a good place?
I get out into nature. My dog needs to be walked and needs to eat, and I'm lucky enough to live in a gorgeous place with a lot of nature where I can be outside all the time. So that's a huge one, and that includes moving my body. That's another one, getting out of here and into here. Probably calling someone, a trusted friend, fellow advisor, and maybe talking through how I'm feeling or what happened that day, and then just sort of letting it go. A healthy dinner, and I go to bed early. It's nothing too glamorous.
So I'd like to open it up to some questions because we have some really great coaching moments here for you guys. So if you have some questions, now's a great time to dive in.
Talk a little bit late, but I was getting into, I was hearing you talk about how you address client concerns and an upset client. Oftentimes I find, as an interior designer as well, we run into multiple clients kind of slowing down or just not responding to design presentations, and then we get to this scenario where multiple clients are feeling like their projects are a little bit far behind, and then they start to get stressed, and we have to play this role of like, don't worry, we got it. But how do you handle clients who are just continuously really not following your process, or just kind of kicking back every time you're turning around and offering a solution, but they continue to just kind of be a problem?
I would even go to the very beginning of the process, and you guys have both talked about this, that you have like rules of engagement, and those are very clear. And that includes like the client is part of the team, and so they have accountability too. They can also go do whatever they want, but needing to know that there's consequences, right? And so, yeah, I like to set up the rules of engagement even with my clients, like no ghosting. You know, what's an appropriate response time? What's, you know, who's in charge at what phase of the project? And just, you brought up over communicating earlier, which there's Oliver Wendell Holmes had this great quote that the biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it already took place. So
What is it? It's what?
the illusion that it already took place.
Oh.
So you might think you've communicated it, but you know, say it 3 more times.
You might have assumed it because
Right.
you do it every day.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to let you get on with your life. Design Bites is up next at noon. Thank you very much for coming. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
everybody.